Good morning. So today I've had a topic brewing in my head. Let me pin myself here. About working through a wave of emotion and taking the time to sit and feel your feelings and kind of like what does a healthy process look like? So a couple of weeks ago, I attended a funeral for a little girl, and it's a good friend of mine, her daughter, and I think something triggered in me at that point, and just some other things in my life. Things, like at some point, everything ends, and there's grief that comes with, either a project ends or an expectation you had to let go of. It doesn't necessarily have to be like death. Um, it can just be a little thing, just something that you were wanting, maybe. Like I didn't get the smoothie I wanted. It doesn't have to be a really big thing. Your body, your chemistry in your brain still has the same exact reactions. It might not be like as like explosive. I kind of akin it to on that cartoon Finding Nemo, where there's a little octopus, and it's at and one of the other fish comes and she scares her, and she inks, and she goes, "Oh, you made me ink." It's the little chemical reaction that something triggers in our brain, and our brain has the corresponding chemical reaction, and which we interpret as an emotion, or that is the emotion. And then what we interpret is the story. The story is the feeling. So what I want to help you guys do is, using your holistic tools and journaling, how do you interpret your chemical reaction, the emotion, and knowing what the feeling is, so that we don't necessarily attach like the story and now like that's going to stay forever. Does that make sense? So for example, this is one that one of my yoga teachers uses. So you see a meme, and it's the tiniest, cutest little mouse, and it's sleeping in a flower. Like the first thing you do is go, "Oh, it's sleeping in a flower." And I feel my cheeks like flood with blood, and I feel joy in my chest. So my body just gave me like a hit of like oxytocin. And I'm like, so I'm interpreting that. Where do I feel it in my body? So I want to help us like identify the chemical reaction in our five senses. So my sight, I see a super ridiculously cute animal, bathed in golden light in a purple flower. So that's one. Touch, I'm thinking, oh my God. Okay, so I wouldn't touch a mouse, I don't think, in a flower. How would I interpret touch? I mean, I think I would be going like this. I'd be touching my face, like, "Ooh, little mouse." Taste. There's something sweet about it. So there's a sweetness. The smell, I feel like I'm smelling sunlight, like when I think about that. And what am I hearing? I think it would be like that. It would be like just that, like the birds chirping kind of thing. And that, I mean, I'm using a specific vision in my head. So now if we were to pick something harder, so say, what am I mean, like I'm grieving over a relationship kind of changing and ending right now. So what are my five senses that I can identify with that? My sight, it feels kind of dark. So I would want to write this down. Let me get my little notebook here. Do you guys get where I'm going with this?
Yes.
So with my, say, something is changing big in my life. So if I were thinking about I'll call it loss or like a grief change in my life, it feels like black, like if I were to think of the sight, the five senses. So maybe that would be like the color. Maybe we'll call sight, what color is it? Oh, Jess is here, admit. And then the touch or the feel. It feels thick, like a blanket. Taste, bitter. Smell. I can't identify the smell. Hearing, maybe like that ringing in my ears kind of feeling, like when a bomb goes off and you're shocked kind of feeling. I think ringing in my ears. So Jess, you're just joining. We were talking about how do you take the chemical reaction in your brain, which would be an emotion, and generally what we do, because your brain is always looking for what it knows, it's an expectation. So with a common chemical reaction in your brain, it might be like what we're talking about right now is grief or sadness. Your brain is looking through its file folder of what it's experienced like that before. So it's kind of like a long hallway full of drawers with files in them. So it pulls open a whole drawer of every time you felt that chemical reaction. So a lot of people will akin that to a trigger. So whether or not that is true, there's actually research that might not be what we think it is. It might not be like this stuck PTSD pocket in our body like we're thinking. It might actually experienced more of a noticing rather than a reaction. So we were talking about the journaling of our experience. So if I feel sadness, which I might feel in my body as what do you guys feel when you think of a sadness or a loss or a grief? What do you feel in your body right now?
A tightness in my throat.
In your throat?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel that too. So when we are feeling a strong emotion, if we can start to identify, like, be more of like your own doctor in this moment, like, I'm going to be the doctor of my own emotions. Now, what is it that I'm feeling in my body? Like, keep it so that it's not going to go into that storyline of like, this person did this and replaying the memory and making it worse, because it becomes like that thought cycle. You're stuck on the carousel. And so what that is it's energy that your body created, right? It's the chemical reaction in your brain. So we have to move it. We got to breathe it. We got to put it on paper. We got to do some things. So if you can think of how it feels in your body and follow that trail, and also if you can put more senses to it, like sight, what does it look like? What color is it? What does it feel like in texture? Does it feel like a heavy blanket? Does it feel like a light? I'm thinking like that lacy, that really comfy, like when you've washed like your grandma's lace tablecloth, that really nice one that like after it's washed and you touch it, it's so soft. not the starchy one, the comfy one. So in this beautiful curriculum that I found for us that I've been following, it's through Carla McClellan's workbook, and the book that goes with it is The Language of Emotions. And she's helping us to interpret our feelings in the moment so that there's no good or bad feelings. It's just like, what is this? What does this serve me? What is this action step that comes with it? And something that I thought was interesting for this is, let's see, like how much emotion is too much emotion? That's basically what this is about. I'll just read it to you real quick. The answer is simple, really. There's a simple answer to this question. How much emotion is too much? It's the same for anger as it is for any of the other emotions. If an emotion appears constantly and you can't get it to resolve, that's too much. So that's the answer. For instance, if you attend to your anxiety, ask it questions. What brought this feeling forward? And what truly needs to get done? And complete its actions. But it will not resolve. If it will not resolve, that's too much. If you pay attention to your sadness, ask it questions. What must be released? What must be rejuvenated? And complete its actions, but it will not resolve or shift at all. That's too much. If you listen to your shame, ask it questions. Who has been hurt? What must be made right? And complete its actions. In each of these cases, the emotion is out of balance and you need to attend to it so that your emotions can get back to their regular work. Because emotions are so powerful, a repetitive state can throw your chemistry out of balance. So attending to that emotion may require therapy, medications, or changing your lifestyle so you can work your way back to health. So, I mean, basically what we're using is our oils as our prescription for ourselves. And what's been really supporting me has been cypress. So I've been playing with it. It just feels so clean and like it's helping me move something. So I'm going to look to see what it says in my Essential Emotions book here. I think it's so fun that we have this special place together that we can talk about like moving through this stuff. Let's see. CY. There it is. Motion and flow. I purposefully didn't read it so that I would have the correct reaction for you guys because I haven't read it yet. My body wanted it. This powerful oil creates energetic flow and emotional catharsis. Stagnant energies are brought into motion through the fluid energy of this oil. Cypress works in the heart and the mind, creating flexibility. Cypress teaches the soul how to let go of the past by moving with the flow of life. This oil is especially indicated for those who are mentally or emotionally stuck, stiff, rigid, tense, overstriving, or have perfectionistic tendencies. Oh boy. This hard driving stems from fear of the need to control. The individual tries to force things in life rather than allowing them to unfold naturally. Cypress encourages individuals to cast aside their worries and let go of control so they can enjoy the thrills that come from being alive. Well, I guess that's why my body wanted it.
I definitely need that one. One thing that I've been trying to overly control is everybody getting sick in the house and wanting to control how everybody dealt with it. And so Kim, how did you, do you just walk up to your oils and go, let me pick cypress? I mean, what drew you to that particular one?
Well, I mean, I don't really have necessarily a process. I just have so many oils out. I'm not organized at all. And if I do organize it, then I'm like, where'd it go? So I have a bunch on my desk. I have a bunch on the table in the kitchen. I have a bunch in my bathroom. And it's kind of this random experience where I go, oh, my eye catches it and I pick it up. And if I smell it and I go, yeah, that one, or it might be like, no, and I'll put it down and then I pick up. But if you sound like you're a more organized person, so I mean, you could have it out like in your big case and just open the lids and you can kind of look and pick. I let my nose tell me.
Yeah, everything's in alphabetical order. I mean, mine are all organized.
Yeah, mine are not. You would probably be horrified by my I'm on the other spectrum. An oil that has cypress in it is Aroma Touch. So if you don't have cypress, then grab that blend. And that's really helpful. What I like to do, because remember we mentioned that we kind of feel loss or sadness in our chest or our throat, I would put it on the sternum, the breastbone, and on the throat. And both are safe, you know, if you're going to go outside in the sun. So I'm going to just put that baby all over my throat and all over my chest. So if you're going to sit down and do some journaling, then I would use your oil, rub your hands together. I like to rub my hands together for an extended period, and I make sure my feet are nice and flat on the ground. So I'm grounded, I'm connected. What I'm doing is I'm drawing my attention back to my body so that if I'm in my head, now I'm not. Now I'm right here, right now. It's, you know, almost 10 o'clock in the morning in California, August 22nd, 2022. And the reason I say the date is if when I'm feeling a strong emotion, I'm probably not here in this time. I'm time traveling to when I'm 10 years old. So, and then I'll breathe it in. And I feel a heck of a lot more grounded from doing that. So if you have squirrel friends in your life, tell them to do that. And just, you know, like, don't be obvious about telling them what time it is and what date. But if you can, like, oh, wow, you know, it's 10 o'clock and it's the date, just come back, come back. Something else I've been finding helpful is to make sure that I'm taking my adaptive. I'm taking 1 in the morning and 2 at night. And I'm also taking turmeric at night. I take 2 capsules of the turmeric and 2 of the adaptive. And that's really been helping to support my emotions. If you're interested in the curriculum that I found, if you go to her website, carlamcclellan.com, I can put it in the chat. She has her own deck of emotions cards, and I like having these to play with. One of them that I just happened to pick up rises itself as sadness. And she says, situational depression and suicidal urges. Had that moment where you're driving and you're like, if I just swerved, it's not like you really want to, or like if you're at the Grand Canyon, I could jump, but you're not really going to. But I found it interesting what she has written for suicidal urge. It says the darkness before dawn, certainty, resolve, liberty, transformation, and rebirth. What idea or behavior must end now? What can no longer be tolerated in my soul? So a couple days ago, I started to feel kind of like that I'm done feeling. And what is that? Like, I'm not done, but there was a flash, just like when you're on the road and you're like, I could just, and I thought, oh, okay. So I'm ready to surrender in me that I could use right now. So I don't know if that serves somebody. Let's see what she says about situational depression. She calls it ingenious stagnation. the internal questions. Where has my energy gone? Why was it sent away? Situational depression is a specific form of depression that arises ingeniously when there's an already dysfunctional situation occurring. Depression stops people for a reason. This reason could be located in any part of a person's interior or exterior life, and it can be often be addressed through changes to lifestyle and or behavior. You can help people identify this dysfunction by simply listening as they speak. Take care if the depression is cyclical, meaning it's stuck in a cycle. If it doesn't respond to the healing change people make, please help them seek psychological or medical intervention. Depressions that last too long are not good for people's empathic or neurological health. So it's vital to address recurring depressions conscientiously. My yoga teacher says, she goes, I'm closed for repairs. I really like that saying. It's like, I'm closed for repairs right now. So generally speaking, we don't want a feeling of sadness or depression to last more than a week. So that's at that point where we need to use our interventions, where we reach out to community. That means we need to be talking with other people. That means, we need to seek our therapist. That means, there's some interventions that need to be done. I'm going to share my screen really quick of something I pulled up for you guys that may be helpful. It's in my email. Can you guys see that where it says 5 areas of therapeutic self-care?
Yes.
Okay. So I feel like this is helpful to look at, where are you taking care and where do you need to set some goals? You guys have any, when you're looking at it, you're like, oh, I need that. Or I've been pretty good at this one.
Sleep is definitely my drawback.
It's more in the physical self-care. I feel like I've been getting pretty good at, like, I've been hyper focused on the spiritual self-care and people and support. The lifestyle stuff, I think I could probably work on more. Just getting out in nature, and I go out in my backyard, but I'd like to go out more, like in the woods. So this is just something that I think I can send this to you if you'd like to keep it on your phone, just so you can kind of be like, okay, what is it? Where am I not in quite balance in this moment?
Yeah,
that
I'd like a copy of it.
Okay. I'll make sure that I send it to you. The other thing I want to show you is, there's this gal that I'm friends with on Facebook. Her name's Liz. She's one of them yoga people. So this is like her yoga name, but I think her given name is Liz. So she was talking about moving out of her cabin in the mountains, and she's now going to be living in a bus. So she was talking about how she was journaling, and I was like, oh, that's really cool because I've been doing that too. So this would be a good visual for you guys. So when you're journaling, you're thinking like, what does it look like? What color is it? The feeling you're having. She mentioned her grief felt muddy brown. What does it taste like? Bitter. What does it smell like? Pine trees. What texture is it? A soft blanket that feels safe. What does my grief say to me? I'm sad to leave and scared of the unknown. What do I want to say to my grief? I love you and I'm here for you. So I think it's really important to have positive self-talk for ourselves, because we're being aware of that little version of ourself, the inner child. So we're being kind. If you're finding that your inner voice is highly critical. So just start looking at that, you know, so that you can say, oh, actually, that's not true. That was a very helpful thing for me to do, to stop criticizing myself out loud, for one. I feel like that is far too normalized in our society. And to start being nice to you. I felt like that was like super lame when I first went back to therapy, and they're like, start talking to your inner child. So it's not necessarily that I'm going super gooey, like, you know, the whole bit, but I'm definitely doing a lot of self-talk where I'm being kinder to myself. Do you guys have some thoughts on that?
Kim, what if the self-talk stuff feels weird at first? How do you like it's not a concept that I'm really used to.
I think that if you can find some word, like think of the words, what they'll do in meditation for inner child. Maybe I should pull that up. I actually have a really great one. It's the words that you really wish someone had said to you when you were young. There's something that your heart truly wishes for, you know, that you're like, no one said it. Those are the special words. There's a lady that I know that if she catches herself being hypercritical, that you stop and go, oh, sweetheart, you know, I see you. There's just certain words that work for you, you know. It might be something that you started saying to your loved ones because it's something you would have liked said to yourself, you know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess I'm at the point of saying things to other people, but it not being said back to me. So it's going to be a process of adjustment, learning to do that.
Affirmations are good. Like, remember, was it Richard Simmons? I always mix it up. I always mix up Gene Simmons and Richard Simmons. What's the guy? Kiss, the singer. Ah. And then there's Richard Simmons, right? The exercise guy. He, you know how he would look in the mirror and say, well, gosh darn it. So I think that they made fun of that on SNL. That bit ruined mirror work for me because I just associated it with the hippie 70s exercise guy. But there is some really great stuff for mirror work. If in the morning, and I mean, the first thing you do, you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, you know, you're already criticizing yourself. That is a really great place to start. First thing in the morning. So I would have a sticky note of an affirmation that you put on your mirror at like, so like when you go pee, and that's the first thing you read in the morning, you know? So make sure that it's positioned in an up so that your eyes have to go up. When your eyes go up, you go into the positive forward thinking part of your brain. And when you look down, you go into reflective. So don't put it somewhere you have to look down. Put it somewhere your eyes have to go up. So
That's a good idea. Thanks.
What'd you say?
That's a good idea. Thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah. A good project I would say is if you do you like to make like are you a scrapbooker or you've made vision board kind of stuff?
No, I don't. I'm limited because I live with my parents. I'm limited to what's in my bedroom. So my days of crafting don't exist anymore.
Well, I would just maybe just write it in your journal then.
That would probably work. Yeah.
Just somewhere like that. I'm not much of a crafty like vision board person either, but if you can, we should, let's go look at that inner child thing, because I think that that would be a good thing for us to do before we end here. Let's see, it's on YouTube. Thich Nhat Hanh. Okay, we'll just listen to a little bit of this, but I think this would be a good one for us to do, you know, when you're journaling. Can you see it where it says inner child meditation? Or do I need to refresh?
We can see it.
Oh, you can? Okay. Let me share again. Share. Okay, let's just see what this sounds like.
Is try to call a 5-year-old child is always vulnerable, fragile. And he or she can get hurt very easily. So you have to handle the 5-year-old child in a very gentle way. If the 5-year-old child as a flower get hurt, the wound will stay for a long time. And most of us have been 5-year-old. And the inner child in us is still alive. And the little child in us, 5-year-old, may still have wounds within. That is why in this meditation, we go home and touch the 5-year-old child in us, the 5-year-old child that may be deeply wounded, that we have neglected for a long time. The 5-year-old child in us always try to call on us to pay attention to him or to her. But because we are so busy, we have had no time to go back to him or her. That's a pity. This morning we have an opportunity. Breathing in, I see myself as a 5-year-old child. Breathing out, I smile to the 5-year-old child in me with compassion. In, 5-year-old child, out, smiling with compassion.
Well, I find that interesting. And I would definitely do that before I go to bed because it's really relaxing. So if you've never done that before, where you reflect on the 5-year-old you, it does bring forward some interesting feelings. So now my body says, rose me, rose me. So I will be using rose on my chest now. So I'm going to stay with that feeling. So something that we talked about last week was called the art of experiencing, or Tonglen meditation. Tonglen is where right now you may feel a tenderness, a deep tenderness. So we would breathe more of that in, thinking of your inner child at 5, exhaling compassion for yourself, breathing in more and more of the tenderness, exhaling compassion for all of our inner child children at 5, for the 4 of us here. Breathing in more, exhaling compassion for all the 5-year-olds in the world right now, wanting to be seen, wanting to be heard, wanting to be held. That's a way to honor your feelings and honor the feelings of others. So it starts as a solid matter, and then dissipates into the carbons, so that it's not necessarily held in our body and it's back out in the world. Thank you so much, you guys, for coming today. And I hope that there was something you heard that you needed to hear. I know we all have a different perspective.
Thanks, Kim.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, glad you came. I'm going to take a breath for you guys, or we can take a breath for all of us if you want to do it at the same time. We'll take a breath in and exhale. Thanks, guys.